Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to round 5 of Tier 2. We are here in Miami. Quite an interesting track, this one. Today, joining me, we have Supreme Kai as our streamer and Slayer on breaks, or Slayer on keys, or just Slayer, whatever you want to call him, with my on the commentary box.
Well, good evening, simply. Well, it's actually good afternoon here, but it will be a sunny morning in Miami for our race today. And a very flowing and open track built around the stadium in Miami, and it should be a fun race to watch. What are your thoughts on the track?
Well, I personally do kind of like the track. It is very flow, as you said. The racing is a bit dodgy here because of how tight the corners get in some places. However, still plenty of opportunities to overtake into multiple corners. So the racing will, of course, be fun.
So let's head on to the track video and let's find out how this track actually looks.
Yeah. As we can see, 5.4 kilometer long, 19 turns, of course, 3 sectors, 3 DRS zones, 3 detection zones as well. A very little elevation changes here because it is based on the car park, but still decent track. Let's go quickly onto the Hotlap.
Alright then, let's go for a lap on board SSJassassin from Tier-1 for a lap of the brand new Miami Street Circuit. We cross the line, DRS open as we come down to turn 1 as we prepare ourselves for what is a cascade of Sector 1. As it goes through turn 2 and 3, a swooping set of corners. We come through the S's designed to replicate some of the great modern circuits in Europe. As we flick through turns 4 and 5, make sure to get as much over the curb as you can, and through turn 7 you want to run as wide as you dare before getting a late apex and getting on the throttle as early as you can to maximize the exit onto the first proper straight, if you will, in air quotes. DRS open as we come through turns 9 and 10, not really turns because they're taken completely flat out. As you come to the first major overtaking opportunity at turn 11. Get the car braked and turned in as you come through an awkward section here through turns 12 and 13 where you have to lift and coast to get the perfect line through there. The complex chicane of turn 14 and 15 where you have to mount both curves completely. Get a good run through turn 16 and now you're on the back straight where it presents you another overtaking opportunity as we rise and a little bit of elevation change as we come past the Hard Rock Stadium on the left. The DRS open once again, doing speeds of upwards of 320 kilometers an hour as we come down to the braking zone of turn 17. Another major overtaking opportunity, but also an important traction zone as you're immediately turning the car's mechanical grip completely loaded as again you come flying past the line for a lap of the Miami circuit.
Okay, so that was our hot lap and a very quick one, a 126.7, I believe. And looking at that track, I mean, it is just insane how fluid it is. I don't know how the drivers will manage to overtake around here, but it should be a fun race nonetheless. We're heading to quali now. Simply, what are your thoughts on that lap, man?
I mean, it is by our very own Sir SSJassassin. He is quite a quick driver. Of course, he's prone to mistakes, but let's be real here. Everyone is prone to mistakes. Let's quickly. Ooh, that is very
Hmm.
interesting. It's going to be raining in the race, so everyone will have to obviously go onto a wet setup. And
So,
again, we do apologize if we do sound a bit weird. Everyone has a viral flu, and stuff happens. But yeah, as far as the lap was going, yeah, I mean, pretty quick lap. Let's just hope that he can recreate it tonight at 8 p.m. where our Tier 1 boys go at it. He's obviously also in Tier 1, so could be in contention for pole perhaps.
interesting to see what the drivers are going to do. I see Srikanth that's right now on the mediums. He's not out yet, but that could be an interesting choice. Even though there is no prospect of saving the softs because I see that the rain is completely wet through and through. They're saying it's a light drizzle at the start of the race, so I'm not sure if it will be inter conditions from the get go, but I think that will be the preferred tire to start on.
It has to be Inters considering it's going to be light showers. I don't think it'll be a full wets. Unless it becomes very quickly wets, then perhaps it will be better to start on the wets, to sacrifice a little bit in the beginning, but then soon after, you'll save a whole pit stop's time. which could help you out towards the end of the race. But again, we'll leave it to the drivers. As we can see, Shrikant that's still out on those mediums. Very weird, but I guess drivers usually come out on mediums because they have not done any practice beforehand. So let's just hope that's not the case. And perhaps he just selected the wrong tire by mistake because, as you know, we saw, and as well as you said, it is raining in the race. So realistically, you might as well use up all three of your soft and try and set the best lap that you can throughout all three of those runs.
I mean, the race will be a fun one because I believe not many of the drivers here have done much practice on the wet conditions, and this track is easy to master, difficult to master even on the dry conditions. So it'll be even more of a fun ride for the drivers in the wets. So it'll be a fun watch.
For sure, especially going into the turn one, it's already quite tricky, in the dry itself. Now that we will be in the wet, it's going to be even harder for these guys to, take because first of all, the traction of the line is going to be very hard to get right, and then by the time the traction sets in, you're already braking for the corner that's coming up. So it's going to be quite a bit of heavy load for all of these drivers. But then again, they will have to prove to us, obviously why they are in tier 2. As we can see, Shrikant Das on mediums has blocked a Ferrari behind him. Not sure who that is. Could be Alex. Alex is the only Ferrari out there, so yeah, he has blocked Alex. So
Let's
that
go on to
could be a reward
the
coming his
flying
way.
lap with Faizan. That should be an interesting watch.
He's about to start his lap. Let's go on
Okay.
board with Faizan. Right then, Slay, why don't you take us through this lap?
All right, so heading into turn one, it's a quick rundown and hard braking, shifting down to third gear. And then again, quick braking here. It's a flowy corner. You don't need to brake much, but you do need to coast. And throttle modulation is very important around here, especially in this coming up S section. So he lifts off. There is not much braking, but yeah, he loses the car, Jose Hero, and that is a common mistake we'll be seeing. I mean, we did see in the real race as well. With Leclerc spinning out here is not difficult at all.
Certainly not. Alex finishing the lap then with a 28.7. That's interesting because from the news that I got, quite a few of the drivers were setting 28s flat,
Yep.
or perhaps even dipping their toes into 27s. So quite quick, a few of these drivers potentially being, Ink, Dark Knight, Faizan himself, perhaps maybe even ABD. They're looking quite solid, for that pole here.
Yeah, they are. I mean, there is a lot of rivalry within this tier, and tier two is. Oh, that's a spin right there for BK19, I presume, and maybe that's his quali ended. No, he's just lost his wing,
He's
and
fine.
I think he's gone into someone else. But he was probably ghosted, so it's fine.
Yep, he did cause a bit of a car park there because, of course, you cannot really trust this game's, ghosting because sometimes, they might look ghosted and then they still have collisions on or something along those lines. We can't really guess, but, it is fair enough. But yeah, loads of people's laps got blocked there because of that Alfa Romeo spinning. Could be a report. I don't think it's really, I mean, yeah, he spun, but, he did also coast. So, I don't personally think it would be a valid reason for anyone to report him. But yeah, it's down to the drivers themselves. As Jose Hiro sets in a 50. I don't know why it says a
That's just
59 there. I think that was his out lap there, so shouldn't really count towards his lap. But anyways, Jose starting a lap. Dark Knight in the Red Bull, quite close to the walls. He's been
Dark
quite
Knight's done a lot of
consistent throughout
practice.
this season.
Yeah, he's been practicing through this season a lot, and he's also had a chance to race with the Tier 1 boys. And yeah, he has a lot of experience with IRC, so he should be one of the quicker guys here. As ABD sets a 28.4, which is a competitive lap for Tier 2. But I expect as the quali goes on, times will get faster with track evolution, and I presume that these drivers are on wet setup, so we can't really expect them to get into the 27s. That is what I feel, but who knows? Maybe we get surprised as Dark Knight crosses the line with a 28.9.
Not bad. Sager as well, going up into the 28 sevens. Still 3/10 off of ABD. And I kind of do see a point here. They're all on wet setups, so the fact that they're even doing 28s is quite a big thing here. But of course, they do have potentials for 27s. But yeah, as you said, with the wet setup, it's going to be quite hard to do so. It's going to be quite difficult to pull off. But who knows? These guys are very capable themselves, hence why they are in tier 2, each and every single one of them. They could surprise us. Still 11 and a half minutes to go in qualifying. No one's really, gonna know what's gonna happen towards the end of it. So of course we'll have to stay tuned and keep watching as to what happens.
Yeah, and it's really close at the top of the championship with just a 30-point gap at the top with Red Bull and Aston Martin in the constructors, and just an 11-point gap with Inc and ABD at the top of the standings. So this race can be a huge, huge decider in the standings.
That's completely true. Both Inc and ABD, very, very close competitors. As FIFA Connacht goes into the 28
Oh,
twos. So yeah, the times are definitely going faster. But yeah, as I was saying, Inc and ABD both are very close competitors. Of course, they are friends off the track, but on track, everyone is a competitor with each other.
yeah.
So they've had pretty solid battles throughout. Although there haven't been many, whenever they have had those, they've been quite good, and they both practice equally quite a bit despite their busy schedules. So yeah, it is going to be a fun championship. Of course, let's not discard Deepakraj here, who I don't think he's with us today, which is not going to help him in the long run of the championship. But he still has been putting in very, very solid performances throughout the season. We've seen him do quite well, ending up on the podium quite a few times as well, just in the first 4 rounds. So, let's not discard Deepak Raj as well yet. He could also be grabbing the championship, just that, he has missed today's race.
Yeah, Deepakraj, also a close competitor, just 6 points behind ABD in the championship. So, yeah, missing this race can be a huge hit in the standings. And yeah, we'll find out as this race pans out.
Definitely. As Sai Tarun in the Aston Martin comes across the line. Oh my god,
Oh,
28-0 from Sai
oh,
Tarun. That is a big shock. I was about to say maybe a P6 is on the cards for him. And just before I could even say that, just as I was thinking about it, he goes fastest. Of course, provisional, but still fastest.
I'm not sure if he's on a match setup here. Simply 28-0 from Sai Tarun is a really, really blistering time.
Oh, that's a McLaren that I believe might have reset the track. That was King James. But yeah, I mean, that was a blazing lap from Sai Tarun. He has not had the best of the starts to his season. He has made quite a few mistakes in the races, has had quite a few incidents himself. But I mean, if he can manage to keep this pace, but yeah, I mean, even I'm kind of doubtful about it. As just a second there,
It
as
will be
Dark Knight
close.
is crossing the
Oh,
line, goes
that
up
one
into
was
P4 just
P4.
behind his teammate. But yeah, as I was saying, um, Sai Tarun, even I'm kind of getting suspicious of the pace now. Not because he's, in any sort of way cheating, but rather than the fact that he might actually be on a dry setup, might
Yeah.
have not seen the weather. Good for qualifying. Can he hold out in the race though? I doubt it.
Well, doubts are always there, but I feel that qualifying is the most important thing at this track today because, let's be honest, overtaking here without DRS is a hassle in itself. And considering that there will be no DRS in the rain, it's going to be an even more difficult job for the drivers behind to overtake and get into the front.
Certainly, it's going to be more of like a race of survival rather than a race of, actual racing, I'd say.
Considering we have points till P15, everyone who finishes gets points today. So that'll be fun. But it's just to see who comes out on top. And currently it is Sai Tarun, who was, well, he was practicing really hard. And after a lot of convincing to use his setup from his teammate Inc., who is currently in P5, Sai Tarun has gone provisional pole. And a lot of yellow flags there, people backing up the pack. But yeah, I think about 7 minutes left in quali now, and I think people will be going out for their second last runs.
Certainly, or rather, yeah, second last runs for sure. And yeah, Ink compared to Saitaran is looking a bit slow right now. Although Ink was setting quite quick laps himself in practice, seems to be quite slow here in qualifying. Not sure how he's gonna manage to pull that off, and that is Alex getting
Oh,
blocked by a Mercedes. Not sure who could be Faizan. Is it Faizan?
Jose Hero or Faizan, either of the two.
if I could look at the car now, I could probably tell. But yeah, I think that it might be Jose Hero. Unless, of course, they were on a lap up until that point. Then, of course, it is illegal completely. They don't have to yield the position, but still a bit dodgy. What's not dodgy though is the fact that Alex is crossing the line. Where will he end up? And he does not improve.
That's a bit of a shame for Alex. Obviously, using fresh tires, you would be looking at improvement. Actually, I don't think he is using fresh tires. He's on 2 lap old softs. But simply looking at the leaderboard, there is just a 1.1 second gap from P1 to P12. So this is going to be a really, really close race. And I presume that there will be improvements on the cards for other drivers as well.
Yeah, of course, there's quite a bit of time left. Quite a bit more of track evolution as well left yet to come. So quite a bit of time improvement is definitely there. That's what FIFA Kanak is hoping for right now, as he's starting. I don't know, maybe his second run, maybe his final run. I'm not sure. Quite late or early, depending upon what his run number is. But so far, looking quite good, improving by 1.5 tenths in just the
Absolutely.
first sector. Uh, he only needs to improve by another tenth to take that pole away from Sai Tarun. But of course, FIFA does have a lot more potential in him than just that one extra tenth. So I think maybe the 27s is possible. Perhaps maybe even with the wet setup.
That is probably just a note to the practice of these drivers. They've worked hard all week for this race, and yeah, in accordance with the real one, the McLaren's woes continues, and speed well for King James here today. Um, quite resounding as even Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri finished P16 and P19 in quali. But let's hope King James can improve and get somewhere near the front.
Certainly, as FIFA Kanak was improving in the first sector, down in the second. What about the third? He
Does
right
not.
does not improve.
Oh, by a tenth.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, that's so close.
that's
Just
not
about
good.
200s.
That is not good. We have migrating host with 4 minutes
Oh,
left in the qualifying. It could be that FIFA Kanak is desynced. Yeah, it is
he
desynced
improved.
because he's randomly improved by a tenth now. King James is up into
Oh,
P3.
wow. Okay.
That's a pretty amazing lap he's put together. So your
Forgot to
wishes are
discuss.
currently working out. But yeah, quite a bit of confusion, of course, erupts as the lobby host has left.
Okay, so this is interesting. Maybe we can have a qualifying restart, but hopefully not so because these 15 minutes of constant confusion and setting of lap times instantly is getting a bit annoying. So hopefully no quality restart. But yeah, field seems to have closed up a lot more as King James has gone second, and I think it says BK19 is out. Oh, it's out lap. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, certainly. And we've gotten news that the qualifying will end as normal. If there's any issues in the race, then of course we'll restart with the qualifying results. But for now, everything will go on as is, and let's hope that it will keep going as is, and let's hope for no restarts because that just adds a delay to everyone's schedules, and of course that's not one everyone likes.
I mean, even if the race gets restarted, there's no tire advantage to any of the drivers because it's a wet race at the end of the day. But yeah, so it's going to be an interesting watch because no DRS, flowing corners, easy to spin. I mean, we saw like several drivers spinning out on several occasions on this track, even in the dry weather, just
Yep.
by maybe nicking a curb or two. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, just by nicking a curb or two and you spin
perfect
out.
timing.
So yeah, it's going to be even more difficult for the drivers to drive in the wet conditions.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a BK spin right there has to do more with this game's garbage physics rather than him actually, spinning by taking anything because he was in the middle of the track there. There was no curb, there was no such thing blocking him. So I don't know. It really should not be, a factor for him to spin.
So Sai Tarun is on his outlap now, hoping to retain that pole and maybe dipping his toes into the 27s, like you said simply. If he is on a wet setup, then this time is a absolute marvel of a time.
Yeah, but we won't be able to find out until, of course, after the race. But let's just hope he's actually on a wet setup for his own good, because
Yeah.
if he's on a dry setup, then he's good for now, but he's screwed for the place where you actually need the points. The race itself.
The race.
I mean, of course, everyone will be scoring points, but then again, to
You need to
score
finish.
points, you'll also need to finish the race. And considering Sai Tarun is unfortunately he's quite quick, but he is quite prone to a few mistakes and incidents. So if you do crash out in a race where everyone will be scoring points, then it does become a bit of a bummer, because your championship contenders, regardless of what position you're fighting for, do get that bump up regardless of how many points they've scored. So it just makes
Yeah.
things tighter for the championship, which is good for the viewer, if good for the viewing, but for the drives themselves, their stress and pressure just increases by a lot more.
Hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right, simply. But I think us as commentators, we're here for the entertainment.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anyways, Sai Tarun on a lap. Yellow flags. That's a slow Williams right in front of him. Still going through the first sector. Ink has retired. So has Faizan. Hopefully they have not crashed into each other. No, by the looks of it, Faizan has retired in the pit. So that's good. Sai Tarun. Can he get his first proper pole position currently? Is he down or up? I can't tell.
Upright on a 28-1, barely missing out on provisional pole.
Barely, unfortunate, but yeah, that's Dark Knight's qualifying over. But yeah, let's stay focused on Sai Tarun here as the clock runs down to zero. Qualifying is over. Whatever laps are you're on right now will be your final ones. Sai Tarun will have to improve here, even just by perhaps maybe 2 or 3 tenths. Whatever he can squeeze out of this lap, he will have to, because FIFA Kanake is on
But
for pole. On, oh
oh,
my
Sager!
god! Sager
Oh
has
my
gone for
God!
a 27-6. So forget what I said about 2 or 3 tenths. He has to improve by more than at least half a second here to get pole. He is improving in the second sector. He just has to get this final corner right. He has to get this braking zone and this exit right here.
The
Let's see
jam
with the DRS.
Sai
Oh,
Tarun invalidation too! Last corner and he
on the
invalidated.
last corner with so much hope, with so much potential. Unfortunately, Saitan's qualifying is also over. Sager is currently on pole. Can FIFA Kanak break that party open? Can FIFA Kanak at least get a P2? Perhaps, of course, his goal will be a P1. Can he at least break into the P2s? Is the question. Darknet currently P3. He could be moving down a few more positions here if the guys behind him do improve. Sukuyomi has retired, as now FIFA Kanak with the DRS comes
There's the
across the line and
OP2.
is a
Penalty.
P2. But yes, still 4 tenths away from Sager. Sager. Now I'm
Come on,
thinking
King
that
James.
Sager rather might be on the dry setup rather than Sai Tarun.
And that's qualifying done, guys. King James was on non-flyer, so that's how it ends. Sager takes pole position at Miami, followed by FIFA Kanak, and very closely followed by a Sai Tarun on P3, whose pole position hopes have been demolished by Sager, and a huge delta for P1, almost 4 tenths right there. So, yeah, a crazy qualifying session to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Sai Tarun was looking good. Perhaps could have improved. I mean, he was definitely improving the second and the third sector. By how much, we're not sure, because he did invalidate it at the end. But considering only you get 4 tenths, I don't think it would have been too hard for him, considering how quick he has been in qualifying so far. So Sai Tarun, as well as FIFA Kanak, Dark Knight, and Sager. But Sager is a big doubt because he could be on the dry setup. But FIFA Kanak, Sai Tarun, and Dark Knight sorted for that P1, 2, 3 finish. The podium finishes could be on there, considering the actual championship battles of Ink and ABD don't seem to be going too well. Both of them have struggled in qualifying. So perhaps, this could be the race that, every season we have two or so races where, the underdogs come up and, they secure every single step on the podium, or perhaps even the top five. So this could be the race for them to shine and, fight out between each other to show that who actually is the best of the rest.
Yeah, definitely. And the best of the rest is how it goes here at Miami. This track has been so tricky for every driver that we simply have no idea that who's gonna win and who's gonna be last.
Definitely, it could be very, very tricky to sit here and guess that because, of course, as you said, it's a mixed bag. Currently, it's looking cloudy, not wet, cloudy. So that could change a few things here. Perhaps if the rain is coming quite soon, because it is getting a bit cloudy, perhaps they could consider starting on the soft rather than the mediums or the hards. I mean, I think the hards are pretty much out of the question now, so perhaps they'll have to choose between the soft or the mediums. Considering how safety car prone this track is, I think a good choice would be to start on the soft as they're going in. And I've also gotten confirmation that Sager is on a dry setup, so
Hmm.
when it does start raining, he will be struggling quite a bit.
Or who knows, maybe he had probably increased his rear wing and is waiting for his pit stop to increase his front wing, and maybe he'll be zooming afterwards.
Well, unless he somehow found a way to break Park Ferme, then I guess he's changed his rear wing. Uh, if not, then yeah, the only thing he can actually change is the front wing, but that would create a massive imbalance in his setup.
Hmm.
Where his front wing is 30 and his rear wing is what, like 12 or something. So it's gonna be quite hard to drive that car. But then again, we leave that to Sager to figure out what he has to do with his setup. As far as it concerns us, we're just here waiting for the raindrops to come down, waiting for any confirmation if will be having any issues or not. And we have gotten the ready up message. The drivers will be reading up in just about a second here. So yeah, it all comes down to what strategy they're going for. When the rain will actually come down is a massive question as well. Should be soon, considering looking at the clouds. So it's going to be quite an interesting race start.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with the pack so closely bunched up, only Sager, who's 4 tenths clear of the rest of the field. The rest of the pack is like from P2 to P12 is like 6, 7 tenths. So even the start is going to be crazy with all the drivers going wheel to wheel, toe to toe, and trying to bump out each other to get in front.
Certainly, as now we go up onto the grid, three lights, four lights, five lights. Lights out and away we go at the Miami Grand Prix. Sage seems to have gotten to a very, very good start, although FIFA Kanak has had a much better start, already leading while going into turn when they're going forward in the back. Someone has broken late, and I think there is a bit of collision happening in the background. That will be King James, I think, because he's lost a few positions, and so has Faizan. He is dropping down. The ABD28 disconnected yet again,
Oh
and
no.
we can see that is Sai Tarun and Darknet going side by side. Sai Tarun not having the best of starts, staying in P3. Still, actually, he's lost a position. And Dark Knight also, Ink moving up a position, fighting up with APD. Alex is spun out in Sector 1 after the S's, just before the long straight that we're on currently. FIFA Kanak, amazing start. Can we go behind to King James really quickly? He seems to be making a move very, very shortly on ABD 28. Oh, ABD is
Yeah.
disconnected. Interesting. Okay. Okay, well, there is Jose Hero in the back fighting with BK19. Let's go have a very, very quick look at that fight. And
Oh
there is
no!
collision between Jose and BK19 by the looks of it. Jose in the wall seems to be damage free, and so does BK because that corner is quite low speed. And ABD's disconnection is not helping him. He's dropping down positions like a fly. Faizan's also passed him now.
Oh, well, yeah, this is Wo City for ABD. He's just joined back, so let's see if he's ready and raring to go and getting back all those positions he's lost because his rival Ink, he's cemented himself into P5 very comfortably, and FIFA Kannad just coming across the line to start lap 2. Um, Sager and Saitharan following really closely behind. It's going to be a really close battle at the top, and Dark Knight not leaving them for closeness as
Existence
well.
in ABD in the back. I completely agree with you. Can you quickly have telemetry and all that stuff going as well while we're at it, please? Uh, yep. The gaps, the details, the position changes, and all of that, please. Thank you. If you can press on D once. Okay, still cloudy after 5 minutes. That will be extremely interesting. So, can we have a look at their tires, what the drives have gone for? Supreme? Press on D, that should help. Okay, then just pull it up through the menu,
Menu.
please. The spectator menu. Yep, that's in detail. Detail, please.
Detail, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
So,
not hard.
pretty much everyone going on hards here, other than Tsukuyomi. Oh, there is a battle between Sager and FIFA Canuck.
Holy
Sager has the
smokes.
inside. Sager has gone past FIFA
What
Canuck.
a what a
Decent move. That's bringing Sai Tarun closer to these guys, though it's not done just yet. As FIFA Canuck trying to challenge back Sager going into turn one. I think he'll be a bit too far behind unless he goes for a dive bomb. No, plays it
Just
safe.
DRS open. So DRS, we'll have some DRS action here. And Alex sets the fastest lap. For good measure. He's fallen behind at the start, maybe some bad fortune, but yeah, DRS will play a huge factor here because the top five all in DRS of each other. So it's going to be really close. Hopefully, no DRS train, and we actually see some active overtaking. Oh, that's close. Sai Tarun in the inside, and he gets the move done almost on FIFA Kanak. And yeah, Sai Tarun is in P2 now and chasing down Sager. Sai Tarun wants that win badly and he's going to do everything he can to get it.
Yep, I'm pretty sure he'll be glad with just the podium finish as well. But when you know you are quick enough, then well, you can of course win the race. 5 minutes later into the race, it's still going to be cloudy, so we're not sure when it's going to start raining. Perhaps 10 minutes into the race is when we're going to see the rain. So far, though, nothing as of yet, just a few clouds.
It's going to be
But yeah,
yeah, it's going to be
Saitharun looking
interesting to
quite
see.
good.
Sai Tarun is yeah, he's going to go for that P1 because obviously if you are on the podium, why not go for the win? And it's going to be interesting to see when the rain starts coming down, who pits first, who pits later, who feels comfortable with their grip because the cards are not a very grippy tire, and considering how easy it is to spin out at Miami, yeah, we'll have to see who pits first and who pits later.
Certainly, there's a battle going on between Sai Tarun, I think, Sai Tarun and FIFA Kanak almost. But yeah, can we go on but Sai Tarun to check his ERS because I think he might be dumping it, which will not be good for him. Yeah, he is 20% lower on his ERS compared to Sager and FIFA Kanak.
Oh,
That
that's
might not
out!
be good for him.
FIFA Kanak's
Oh,
out!
that's FIFA Kanak is out!
He's
Oh
out!
my god, I've just realized that is a safety car
That
out
has
for
to be a safety
everyone.
car. Yeah,
Nobody
that's a
really
safety car.
has to pit. There's
Oh
no
God.
cause to pit right now, but yeah, FIFA Kanak, in the matter of a second, in the blink of an eye, has retired from this race when we were not looking.
Oh my God. That is well something of a conversation topic because FIFA Kanak looked like one of the faster drivers on this grid today. And yeah, that just shows how easy it is to make mistakes here and how oh that's
Oh
Sager!
no, Sage
Oh
has made
my
a
God!
mistake as well.
Sager! The timing has been impeccable today and Sager stuck in the wall. He can't seem to find a way out. And
And
yeah,
he's
that
still
is
losing
heartbreak.
positions.
Heartbreak for Sager. He's down to P11 from P1. Sai Tarun takes the lead of the race with Dark Knight and Ink on the podium alongside.
Oh my god. Okay, the timing
Oh
of
my
that was absolutely amazing. Just as we were talking about mistakes, Uh,
literally.
okay, just as we were talking about mistakes, Sager made one existence has gotten a 5 second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. So I think that's because he overtook Sager, but Sager was in the wall, so he's probably going to get that removed towards
Yeah.
the end of this race. But yeah, one thing I did notice when Sager was trying to back up was that Sukoyomi was right behind Alex, and Alex suddenly stopped to avoid Sager. That might have given Sukoyomi a small bit of brake check and a bit of wing damage. Should just be minor though if he's gotten anything as that because of course they were going quite slow through that corner because of the delta.
Yeah, well, I think Burn Mylander is going to have a lot of work today at this race. Even though we just have 14 runners on the grid, I think we'll be seeing a safety car a couple of more times. So, yeah, Mr. Mylander has to stay on his toes.
Certainly, especially during the transition period, whenever that does come around, they have to go on to, oh, that's King James and Faizan swapping positions. But yeah, during the transition period, it's very hard to get a grip through pretty much anywhere, especially on this track where it is quite hard to find grip just in general. It is going to be extremely hard for these guys to adapt. Suddenly in a matter of a few laps, change over to the completely wet sort of driving style of theirs. So it is going to be quite interesting to see what they have to do and how they're going to adapt. We perhaps could see another safety car then. But in the meanwhile, I think as long as it stays dry, this should be the only safety car we get.
Well, talking about this race, I think ABD has regained his positions that he had lost, and he's right on the back of Faizan. Hopefully, we have the safety car in by the end of this lap. I am not sure if that will be the case though, but yeah. And King James has left the session, so another desynced car on the track, which is going to be a free position gain for the drivers behind. So he will need
I
to get back in quickly.
Yeah, I did get news that King James was actually lagging around. He was having network issues himself. So I think he's been instructed to rejoin, perhaps to see if that helps. King James has been struggling with his internet issues for quite a few races now, and that has been hindering his races as well as the races around him. So yeah, I think this restart of the game plus the region should fix it for now. But yeah, let's just hope that it does not hinder Faizan because he can't seem to be swapping positions, can't help swap positions with King James's AI. As Shrikant Das does pit back onto the huts. Can we have a quick look at the tires, please? Yeah, those are the huts.
Yeah.
4 lap. Oh, I think what he's done, he's pit onto another tire, cleared his pit stop. So, I mean, those huts won't go until the end, but he can definitely stretch them out long. But he will, of course, rely on a very, very late lap safety car if it does come out, that is.
He won't need to stay on those hearts for very long because the rain is upon us very soon. Can we get a check on the weather, please?
Yep, that actually would be quite good. Supreme, if you could look at the weather really quickly. You pulled up the telemetry, right? Just now. The predicted weather conditions, that's all we need.
The one that it shows
Through the IRC telemetry,
the
Supreme.
IRC telemetry. Okay, that's not a worry.
Okay, no worries. Then I guess we'll just have to look at the clouds and figure out when it does rain. That's completely fine. But yeah, Sai Tarun in the lead. He's not been in the lead. Oh my God, that's a very late safety car. I mean, the pit lane is right there. I was about to say Sai Tarun has not led many times. So it's going to be hard for him to get that restart right. And he has not. Dark Knight and Ink are right there on his tail. I mean, Ink is his teammate, but Dark Knight is not. Dark Knight is going side by side with Sai Tarun. He has the inside lane. Sai Tarun is being forced around the outside. The outside does not have much grip here, but he's back onto the line. Now it comes down to Ink to get past Dark Knight as quickly as possible. Or not, because Dark Knight is trying to get past Sai Tarun as quickly as possible. Now Dark Knight, oh, there's contact between the two of them. Almost contact between the teammates there. And Ink is now in the lead. Dark Knight losing positions. Faizan up into P3. King James's disconnected car is definitely causing quite a bit of confusion there. ABD up into P5. Let's quickly go through the top 5 to check if anyone has any damage, starting from Ink, because he did have contact there. Ink is completely fine. Sai Tarun was fine. What about Faizan? Faizan seems to be fine as well. Oh no! There is contact there between Faizan and Sai Tarun. Faizan does have wing damage. Dark Knight got tapped by Faizan as well there, going through the corner. The timing has been absolutely brilliant through this race of whatever we're saying. But yeah, that is unfortunate because now Faizan has damage, despite having quite good pace to stay on to that P3, stay in that podium. Now he'll have to deal with damage as well as Dark Knight and ABD, who are quite quick themselves, trying to fight for that P3.
That P3 fight is getting really, really tight with well, everyone from P1 to P7 is in that fight basically. Even P8, Alex is pretty close there. So everyone is in that podium fight right now, and yeah, it's gonna be this way till the end of the race, I feel.
Certainly, that's Jose
Oh,
Hero
that's
into the
Jose.
wall again out of the final corner.
Is he out or is he still in?
As I
I'm not
think he
sure.
has damage.
He's in the race.
He's
He's
just
moving.
stopped there.
No,
He's
he's moving.
moving.
He's moving. Yeah. But yeah, 15 seconds behind the pack, not an easy gap to catch up on. He must be hoping for a safety car right about now. But
Certainly.
yeah, so Ink pulling away a bit of a gap right there. Even Sai Tarun has pulled out a gap from Faizan.
Yep. I wish we had team radios implemented into the game somehow because I really wanted to listen to as to what all of their reactions were as that little bit of a kerfuffle happened through there. That must have been really interesting to hear. Of course, I'd guess majority of it would just be a massive bleep to censor everything out. But yeah, I mean, still would have been very interesting to hear, but I'm pretty sure we would hear it after the race because the drivers do come into the VC and share their POVs about throughout the race. So as this is what interesting stuff happened. What will be interesting for Dark Knight is to get past Faizan here and get into that P3, which he has done on the straight without dumping his ERS.
This
Which
close, it's
is
close.
quite good. Although Faizan, with a broken wing, is still trying to fight Dark Knight, and he's actually pulled the move off
No.
for a brief second before Dark Knight did an amazing switch back, and he has gotten past Faizan again. Slayer. Okay, I guess Slayer's not here.
I am back now. Just had some work. But
Uh,
yeah, this is getting really close here. And Shrey on the back of ABD and ABD on the back of Dark Knight. So this battle for P4 is on right now.
okay, let's quickly go on about Dark Knight as well. Because, yep, oh, Faizan's gone wide. That is very interesting.
Dark Knight's probably shouting right now. He's screaming and he's mad with all this action because he's fallen 3.5 seconds behind Sai Tarun Inc., who are enjoying their happy constructors points right now.
Certainly. I mean, okay, let's go off board. Let's go back to the TV cameras. Thank you so much. But yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Ink and Sai Tarun completely running away with the championship here. What Faizan's doing is definitely in no way illegal, as defense despite the damage is completely legal. I mean, he's just defending for his life to secure that P3 at this point. He doesn't even have the DRS, so he's using whatever he has left with him to keep that P3 for as long as possible
Dark Knight
because
has dumped everything.
oh, there were there's a lead battle going on between Sai Tarun and Ink. Both the Aston Martin drivers fighting it out here. Sai Tarun's in the lead with Ink right behind him. Ink will have the DRS. But yeah, not close enough. Let's go back to Dark Knight and Faizan. Quite a bit of battles happening throughout this race. That is Faizan still in P3. Never mind,
Never mind.
there it goes to Dark Knight. And now ABD is trying to challenge Faizan for that P4.
Oh, I hope this doesn't end in tears for the Aston Martin boys. This battling is getting a bit out of hand, I feel. And they should maybe just hold it off for a bit. Yeah, this is a bit reckless, I would say, from the Aston Martin boys.
Certainly, I mean, if you're talking about reckless, then again, immaculate timing because Sharif, Faizan, and ABD were going three wide through that long left-hander momentarily. So that did become quite reckless there. But I guess everyone is very eager to get past Faizan. Faizan is not making it easy for anyone, to be fair. Although ABD has flown past him, but that does not mean Faizan let him by without any sort of a battle. Faizan again fighting tooth and nail for that P3.
Oh.
There's yellow flags here. Faizan will be
Oh.
glad with those yellow flags. That is Sager who has spun out. Still
Sager's
yellow
days going from
flags.
bad to
Yep, it
worse,
is
man.
still Sager. Now Faizan missing that wing does give him a bit more top end, and he's flown past ABD now.
Wow.
Although he'll have to break much earlier compared to ABD because of the lack of downforce.
Oh,
Oh,
ABD's
that is ABD into the
ABD.
wall
He
now.
got tapped, I think.
Oh my god, what is happening in this race? Shrey is up into P5, Faizan barely hanging on with that DRS of Dark Knight, which is understandable
Helium, I
because
think.
Dark Knight has completely dumped his ERS. He has nothing left in the bank for him. BK19 and Sukomi both going into the pits while speeding into the pit lane themselves. Existence very close to Shrikant Das. Shrikant Das this is going to be an interesting fight because both of them are actually quite close to each other in terms of pace.
Yeah, this goes to show how close this race was. ABD was momentarily P4 and now he's down to P9. It's going to be so difficult for ABD to get back into this race and get closer to his teammate and challenge for that top spot.
Yeah, that is for sure, and that's another mistake by Jose Hero. He has spun yet again, all the way in the back. That's just adding salt to his wounds, of this race. But currently, as you said, yeah, it is a big bummer for ABD. Oh, that is
Oh, the
Shrikant Das into the
Shrikant!
wall now.
Oh no.
Okay, so that's a big bummer from him, and Sager as well into the wall
Sager's days going
with
from bad to
BK.
worse.
Yep, everyone's race is going from bad to worse. Quite entertaining to watch though,
Yeah,
but yeah, very frustrating for the drivers because now Shrey is stuck behind Faizan, and as we know, Faizan very tough competitor, very tough fighter, does not give up a position very easily. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle for Shrey to get past Faizan here now, and that's just going to lose him quite a bit of time. Could help Alex at the end of the day to catch up to these guys, and we know that if Alex gets within the DRS, then he gets that what do you say confidence to get past the guys in front of him, and he does end up doing so most of the time. So yeah, Alex is looking good so far as long as Shrey and Faizan keep battling.
but what I have noticed in this time being is that the weather has gone to very cloudy, and I feel that the rain can be dropping any time now. So BK19 and Tsukuyomi, who have pitted, I think, for wing damage, they will have to go in again very soon for those intermediate tires.
Certainly, as we saw momentarily, or well, it's still happening. King James' car is still lagging around, and so is ABD's. So, battle of the internet, more like.
Oh well, it's just a battle to see whose internet is worse.
I guess, but then again, it could just be EA sides decent. Who really knows this game is just that broken? Can't wait until F123 comes out and gives us another sense of false hope for 1 month before they ruin everything. Anyways, King James now with the DRS again trying to make a move on ABD, who is now currently in P9 after losing out on that position to King James. Never mind, still go. Oh, okay. Well, where is King James? Because he was ahead, and
And he's in the pit lane now.
I just hope he does not teleport outside of it
Uh,
randomly. I am very confused.
this game, yeah, I mean, half of IRC has put in a bad review for this game. So yeah, it just goes to show how badly EA have messed this one up. Oh,
Exactly,
that's
and
contact
that's
right there with Jose Hiro and Sukoyomi, though they are not in the battle for the lead. Those few points also make a huge difference in the championship.
for sure. Every little point counts always, and King James is on inters.
He's
Right.
already switched. I think that's a mistake on his mechanic's end. Um, that could not be right. It's still very dry from what I can see. Unless it has started. It has started raining. Yeah, I can
Can we
see
go
few
on board?
drops.
We'll be able to see through the TV pod if we can go on board the drivers.
I think I do see a few droplets here and there.
There's very few droplets, but there's still sunshine, so I doubt it. So
Maybe a
perhaps
rainbow
it
in the
could be a
process.
very early reaction from King James. Perhaps
No,
Mark told him maybe 5 minutes before that rain, and we all know that when Mark says 5 minutes, it's more like 15. But
yeah, I missed
yeah,
Jeff, man.
we all miss Jeff, don't we? But here Sukoyomi left the DRS on through the corners and he has gotten past Jose Hero. Jose on those 12 lap old hards, Suko is on those 2 lap new mediums, so it makes sense. 10 lap differences and still a faster compound. So it should be an easy move for Suko to pull off, and he has pulled it off, although he does have a 5 second speeding in the pit lane penalty.
He can serve that while he's going in for his pit stop, I presume. Which he
Yeah,
will be because I do see a few raindrops if I am not blind. But yeah, so maybe by lap 16 we should have proper rain around this Miami circuit. Oh,
hopefully
and that
there
King
is rain.
James, he spun out. I
Again.
think those inter tires were definitely not the right call at this moment.
Yep.
And yeah, his struggles continue for the day, as do McLaren's in real life.
Yep, the track is cold. It is getting colder because of the cloud cover. Just not for.
But yeah, right
Oh,
there.
okay.
That's it.
5 minutes for the Inters. This is what we were asking for in terms of predicted weather conditions, and this is exactly what we've got.
He got it at the right
Five
time,
minutes
simply.
before the Inters. That could be very interesting. Makes sense as to why they stuck out of the hards. So even I'm confused now because it said it'll be raining throughout the race. We're about
Yeah.
15 laps in, and we're expecting rain at around lap 18, lap 19 for this race. So it is a bit confusing, but then again, I guess EA
I
tax.
mean, predicted weather, we can't really be 100% on it
That's
every
true.
time. So, yeah, but the rain will definitely hit, and this mixed condition race is going to be even more difficult for the drivers than just a full wet or full dry race.
Certainly, it's gonna be mixed conditions, half and half. Not really half and half, more like majority dry. But those last few laps are gonna be wet as King James has spun out again. Those tires are definitely a very, very wrong call, an extremely wrong call rather. ABD has spit. Hopefully, he's not going on to the inters because it's not
I
raining
think he
still.
might be. He might be going on the
I
Inters
hope
because
not.
it's only, yeah, he's on the
Oh,
Inters.
he's gone on to the inters,
So
and he
maybe
is.
the Red Bulls are going for split strategies here. If one fails, then the other can definitely succeed. And hopefully it pays out for ABD because of his disconnection woes in the starting of the race. I really want him to be on the podium or at least contending for the podium. And this alternate strategy, let's call it, will definitely show out.
Ink and Sai Tarun, I believe, have swapped positions again,
And Dark
and
Knight has
we've
closed
missed
up
that.
in on them by a rate of knots. He's just 1.8 seconds now. Make that 1.7.
So they are fighting with each other, very, very close to each other, but so are Faizan and Alex. Alex has sent it to
Oh
this and
no!
it's
Oh
contact!
no! No!
DRS is disabled, so it
Alex
is
has
raining.
Alex has yellow wings.
Alex has yellow wing. DRS disabled. It is raining. It has suddenly started raining very, very heavily. So it will be time for every single one of them to dip into the pits. And I guess that is why there was a swap between Ink and Scyther. It was team orders and rather not actual pace because they want to prioritize Ink over Scytharun to win
Yeah,
this
Ink's
race.
fighting for the championship, and ABD has gone onto the
Knight
alternate
stays out.
strategy. Dark Knight, interesting choice. The TRS has been disabled, and I can visibly see rain on the track. Maybe he's staying out for one more lap. He likes the grip, he likes his tires, and that's all that matters. Even Existence has stayed out for that matter. I think he's also feeling comfortable on the hards for another lap or two, and they want to maximize their tire life on the Inters.
Well, maximizing means maybe going one. Well, if they were to maximize it, they'd actually pit maybe a few laps after. But considering how quickly the weather changes in this game, uh, yeah, that's not going to happen a few laps after. It's going to happen this lap. They should
Yeah.
have boxed this lap, but then again, I think they've just done it to not be held up by their teammates. Although Dark Knight does not make sense because his teammate has already pit. Same for Existence. His teammate is out of this race. It makes sense for
Simply take over for
Shrikant though,
5 minutes.
but yeah, they will be struggling for quite a bit of tire grip now. So let Ink is in that provisional P1. He's already caught up to Shrikant, so Shrikant will be losing quite a bit of positions. He still has one more sector to go, one more extremely tricky corner to go. This is just holding up Ink. Ink is losing quite a bit of time because of that. I think Slayer's gone yet again, which is fine. But yeah, Sai Tarun held up Actually, he's not being held up. Ink is being held up by Shrikant Das. That's helping Sai Tarun in return to catch up, which will actually be quite good for him. As Dark Knight does spit finally onto the Inter's existence, still staying out. I think he's hoping for a safety car at this point, which will save him quite a bit of positions, quite a bit of time, but does not look like there will be a safety car, at least for these drivers. If anything, he could be the reason for the safety car. Shrikantas also staying out. Of course, not a very, very good position for these guys to be in, as they've both stayed out. Shrikant Das and Existence losing out on a lot of time here. They will be losing out on a lot of positions. What does not help Existence as well is the fact that he is on those hards, plus has a time penalty which he will have to serve in the pits. So he's going to be losing all the more time towards the end, of course, and that is Dark Knight, who's now getting past Shrikant. That's Dark Knight actually in provisional P2 of this race. By the looks of it, Sai Tarun has been left behind. This battle, if Dark Knight can pick up the pace, could be between Ink and Dark Knight for the win here, and I would absolutely love to see Dark Knight win. Of course, we'd love to see Ink win, but we always love seeing an underdog win any sort of a race, and seeing that the rain is a pretty good neutralizer of all sorts of actual setup advantage and pace advantage, then yeah, let's just hope that Dark Knight can pick up that pace. Because of course, driving in the rain actually relies more on the drivers themselves, their abilities, their skill, their adaptability, rather than their setup and their car. So hopefully, Dark Knight can pick up, although by the looks of it, he's losing the time right now. This could help Sai Tarun, so there could be battle for P2 in this case between Sai Tarun and Dark Knight, although Sai Tarun does seem to be quite far behind from Dark Knight, although I wouldn't make any sort of a suggestion right now, because Sai Tarun is closing in. Dark Knight is also closing in on a few corners, not a lot of them. He is closing in on a few of them, as we can see King James battling Tsukuyomi, who's right ahead of him. If we can go back to tires, please, that would be brilliant. Thank you so much.
And tires, since I was last here, have all gone green. We are on the Inters now with a battle for the lead. That's slightly rhymed, I'm not sure, but Ink and Dark Knight really close. And 1.1 seconds,
Sager has
just 1
retired in
second.
the pits.
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's a hard pill to swallow for Sager. He was
Oh,
having a great
that's
race.
King James.
Oh, that's just him going a bit slowly.
I mean, realistically speaking, I don't know why anyone would think of retiring in this race, because because of the wets. Few drivers, are not good at adapting, or might be struggling to adapt because of the setup. There could be a chance of safety car, and anyways, top 15 score points. So I don't really see a point of just backing out of a race like that when there's only about 10 laps to go. But it is what it is.
Dark Knight is closing down at a rate of knots to Ink, and Ink is not able to cope with this wet weather. I feel Dark Knight was just a few corners ago, about 1.1 seconds away, and now he's just 6 tenths behind him. That just shows how quick Dark Knight is in these wet conditions, and hopefully we see some moves here real soon.
Certainly, Dark Knight has used up none of his ERS as well. He just sat there, just conserving each and every single little bit of it. So, that's going to help him making that move, especially because, if Ink does end up dumping it, then, it's going to be an advantage to Dark Knight, although Ink, only 10% difference. Still a difference though, because as you can see over here, Ink is using it to make up that gap, whereas I would say that Dark Knight should not be using that ERS. I do believe Dark Knight is being engineered by one of the best theSSJ assassins himself. So I think that is why Dark Knight is actually pulling in, and explains why he is quite quick in the wet right now.
This is really close, simply just about 3 tenths here, and we can expect a move any time now from Dark Knight.
Certainly, perhaps going into this final corner, that is one of the best places to make the move. Dark Knight has used a bit of his ERS to stay within that half a second. I think he's letting the slipstream do the rest of the work.
It is doing
He
the rest
indeed
of the work.
is. He's getting closer and closer, only a tenth and a half separate each of them. But yeah, they of course had to break a lot earlier thanks to it being wet. But yeah, this battle is just beginning.
Yeah, simply 10 laps to go, and this battle we'll see it out till the end of the race, and it's difficult to decide a winner between these two. They've been in tier 3 in season 8 together, and now in tier 2 improving together, so these guys are of very close skill levels.
Certainly, both of them have been on each other's tail throughout this race, throughout multiple seasons and races, to be fair. And yeah, Darknet made a bit of a mistake through there, just as he was entering that long left-hander. But that is fine as long as he is, within that 6/10 of a second gap. He's getting that slipstream. He's absolutely fine. I think he's just has a lot more straight line compared to him. There's yellow flags there for King James. Will that be a safety car? It should have been out by now, so no, I'm guessing not. Yep, no safety car. Srikandas gets past existence, but let's stay focused on this lead battle here, or not. And we're back. Apologies for that, but yeah, Ink trying whatever he can to stay in the lead of this race. Darknet seems to be on cruise control right now, just
Yeah.
very easily staying within that half a second gap of Ink and closing in gradually.
Ink is out of ERS, and Dark Knight is just chilling out at that same similar delta to Ink. Ink is probably worried about his race right now, very worried about his race, and it's gonna be a difficult one.
Certainly, considering that Dark Knight's just sat there conserving, whereas Ink is dumping it. Dark Knight has at least another half a second to add to his lap times if he does end up dumping his battery. So, uh, you know, he is going quite good right now. For how long, we don't know for sure, but right now he's looking quite solid, and I think it will be in the best of interest of Dark Knight to just sit there, stay conserving that ERS, not go for an early move, because if Ink gets behind him, then Ink is going to get the slipstream, and then it'll force Dark Knight to use up a lot more of his battery, as King James seems to be struggling again. Another yellow flag for him. But yeah, Dark Knight I think should just stay behind Ink for now, stay conserving that battery or not.
Maybe
Very
not.
briefly going side by side, but yeah, he should be conserving his battery rather than attacking him. He should be forcing Ink to use up everything, his tires, his battery, pretty much everything to try and keep that P1, whereas, Dark Knight will just be conserving all of that, and then in the last few laps, maybe in the last two or so laps, make a move, or not, because he seems to be on the attack right now.
Dark Knight is definitely on attack mode with about 10-15% more ERS, and that's King James out of the session. Oh, he's retired in pits. I am not sure why these drivers are retiring in the pits. It should have been easy points for these guys, but yeah, not to be, I guess.
Certainly, that is a bit. It's not good to see, certainly, seeing drivers just back off, they're about to get lapped or whatever it may be. It's still points. You don't lose out the points, and of course at the end of the day every single point counts. So it's not the best of the decisions to take, but then again they might have their own reasons to leave early. So we leave it down to them and the coordinators to decide what to do. But for now, let's just stay focused on this race. Faizan in P6. Now the roles are reversed. Before earlier it was Shrey trying to attack Faizan. Now it is Faizan trying to attack Shrey.
I mean, the midfield battle is also getting really heated right now. No one's able to even catch a breath. That's how close it has been in the midfield today. Even at the top end of the field, it's been really close. And Sai Tarun is also not too far away from these two. So maybe Sai Tarun has an outside shout at winning this race today as well.
He could, who knows? If any one of them just make a slight mistake here and there, the Saitaran will be there to grab that position away from them. He is closing in still, so he is looking quite good on the pace right now. Although Dark Knight has pulled away a second on Ink,
Wow.
so Dark Knight is definitely on for a win here as long as he does not make any mistakes. And I hope I do not instantly jinx him. I have not, thank God. We
It
could see
might take a few
now.
more seconds, but things can be on their way.
Yep. Let's hope not, because he's
Yeah,
fought
for
hard
Dark
for it.
Knight's sake, yeah, let's
Yep,
hope not.
exactly. But yeah, let's see here. Faizan and Shrey. Faizan was trying to make a move, but he could not. Oh, okay. Existence put
Wow.
himself into the world. Shrikant Das just casually drifting his way away from existence. So that is interesting. But yeah, both of them have been battling throughout. The race has been a bit dodgy, but yeah. Ooh, okay. That is a lot interesting now, because apparently in 5 minutes it's going to be
Wow.
full wets.
Do you think these
Uh,
drivers will switch to the wets for just 2-3 laps?
I mean, speaking from personal experience, I did do a race where it was full wets, and I stayed out on inters on this game. As a matter of fact, even if it was just for one lap, it felt like torture. It felt like complete torture. You had just no grip anywhere at all. It feels worse than inters on a dry track. So I'd say
They should pit.
it'd be in their best interest to do so, unless they're brave enough to stay out and they believe that they can defend. Then they could perhaps try and take that gamble. Although, as I said, it'll be in their best interest to do so, even though
But
it'll just be for a few laps.
in this situation, Ink is in the hot seat for the win because if Ink decides to go into the pits for wets, Dark Knight cannot go into the pits after Ink because he's in front of him. And if that does turn out to be the right decision, I mean going on to the wets, then Ink will be making a lot of profit from that.
Certainly, I mean it looks quite wet enough already. I mean, it's starting to look like the track is getting wetter. The rain has increased.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
is
the
no
rain
dry line
definitely
on the track
has.
now, from what I can see.
Exactly. Exactly. The dry land that was there has been, replenished again with plenty of water thanks to the heavy rains. They will be struggling for quite a bit of that grip. So I'd say yes, it is definitely in their best interests, each and every single one of them, to go onto that full wets, because sooner or later those enters, although you'll be like, well, it is a wet tire, I can probably stay out, trust me, it's
Yeah,
gonna feel like absolute torture on the car as well as yourself to try and stay out on those conditions.
I think this is the only time I would want to trust my engineer, even though it is Mark, but I don't want to be doing a Landon or yeah.
Certainly, at this point, yeah, in these conditions, you do want to trust your engineer, regardless if it's Mark, if it's your own self, or if it's somebody else. Just trust them and box for the full wets is what I would say at this point. The dry line has gone. We can see they are struggling to put that power down, despite a few of them being on full TC. Even they're struggling to put the power down, so it is certainly full wets.
Definitely, and the conditions are just worsening lap by lap.
Will Dark
We
Knight
are
box? No,
barely on
Dark
lap
Knight
25
stays
now,
out.
and everyone stays out from the top four.
Interesting. I think they're all just gonna try and make it to the end, but every lap it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. With that tire wear, the inters are gonna start turning into slicks,
I
and
think
then
Dark
we know
Knight can
how
defend
those
this
play
one
out.
even if he doesn't go into the pits. He has a 2 second delta, and even if Ink decides to pit, it's going to be a long ride for Ink. I don't think that there is a scope of gaining 20 seconds in a few laps.
Interesting.
He just needs to not make any mistakes and keep it on the track. That's all he needs to do.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely what he needs to do here. But I mean, ooh, yellows. Ooh,
Oh
BK19.
no,
Ooh,
that's
safety car. If it's a safety
maybe
car,
not.
then
He's losing.
uh,
Yeah,
well, no safety car yet. But yeah, I mean, if that was a safety car, then perhaps going on to that full wets would be convincing enough for at least maybe the top three or maybe the top two.
Mr. Mylander not having as difficult of a day as I had envisioned it, but yeah, still a pretty tedious race for the drivers. Let's just call it that.
Yeah, pretty much.
And tier one also tonight. Simply, we can't forget a lot more action coming there as well. So
Ooh.
hopefully our viewers can also tune in for tier one tonight.
Exactly, considering we'll of course be driving in tier one ourselves. To be honest, I wouldn't mind a wet race if it's gonna bunch everyone else up.
I
I
would definitely
genuinely
mind
wouldn't
a wet
mind one.
race.
You what? Sorry.
I would definitely mind a wet race.
Okay. I mean, I understand. In the dry itself, it's quite hard to
Yeah.
keep it on the track, and then on top of that wet. But to be fair, if it does rain, we have seen absolutely amazing bunched up races, multiple cars fighting for the win. Especially in Tier 1 when it has rained. So I certainly would not mind a wet race, or perhaps maybe a transitional race as well. Ciao. I certainly would not mind.
Yeah, I mean, as long as other drivers who are faster than me crash out, I am pretty happy with that.
Right. But yeah, let's not actually hope anything bad on any of the drivers. Let's just try and get
Yeah.
there with our own skill. I mean, to be fair, I will be very excited if it is a wet race, and I will be extremely disappointed if it is if it is a dry race. But hey, guess what? Just like you and I, will have to sit here and wait up until 8 p.m. tonight to watch the Tier 1 race, where we will have to see if the race is dry or wet, if the qualifying is wet or dry, and who actually comes out on top. Because as we said, if it is raining, it is a great equalizer for everyone, and realistically, anyone could be in that top three, and that
Yeah.
could shake up the standings a lot because everyone is very, very close to each other in the standings.
I mean, I was just about to ask you why are you so hyped up, but then I realized that Tier 1 is basically the fastest drivers of India. So yeah, it's gonna be a really, really close race and definitely fun to watch.
Certainly, when you have 20 of the fastest drivers on the F1 game in India going up against each other, all bunched up, it does feel very fun to drive as well as to watch. So of course, make sure to tune in again at 8 p.m. IST tonight to watch the Tier 1 boys, the fastest in India, go up against each other on this game at, of course, Miami.
The only bad part I see about this is Miami.
I completely agree. But yeah, again, BK19 struggling. Yellow flags. Right now, the race has dumbed down, but it has been a solid race from Dark Knight, especially on that wet stint. And oh,
It's not
Srikandas
over.
is
It's still not
retired.
over.
But it'll
Let's
be
make
too
a
late.
safety
It's
car.
it's
No,
too
no,
late for
no,
a
too
safety
late.
car.
Yeah.
Way too late for a safety car. Maybe a lap earlier. But yeah, too late for a safety car. Unfortunate. So he couldn't keep it together. Let's go on board BK19. Let's see where. Never mind. The car's gone.
Never mind, the car's gone.
I mean, the timing has been amazing this throughout this whole
Yeah.
race, which you do appreciate. But at least if you could have seen where his car was, then perhaps we could have figured out as to what has happened because the race has settled down right now. Although, if just I was about to
Ooh,
say,
that's close. That's contact right there.
yeah,
Um,
Shrey was coasting through Faizan, so I think Shrey has made a mistake somewhere. So finally, some sort of action. Alex is closing in on Sai Tarun as well, up ahead. So there could be a battle for a P3 in the last two laps of this race as we begin the penultimate lap of the Miami GP here in Tier 2. Faizan and Shrey fighting it out through the race, still fighting out. Although Faizan does have a time penalty, the only driver with a time penalty, I think that's a track limit time penalty as well. So unless someone pushed him off earlier that got him a warning, that will not be removed. So Faizan has to do whatever he can now to try and pull away that
oh,
three
and that is
seconds.
someone else gone. Who is that? Sukoyomi and BK, I think.
BK19 and I think Jose, he don't know. It was Sukoyomi.
This has been a bad race for most of the drivers here, except for Dark Knight, who has to keep it together for 1.5 laps more. And that is a win seed for him, which can be huge in the championship. Really huge.
It's gonna be massive. It's gonna help them close down, especially Dark Knight in the Drivers' Championship. In the constructors, not so much because ABD is in P7. But yeah, collectively they will be gaining on Aston Martin here, and they'll just close on the gap even further on the Aston boys. So yeah, I mean, the championship battle is never over unless you're Lewis Hamilton in 2020, then it's over by, the second race itself. But
Hashtag blessed.
exactly, hashtag blessed. But right now, nobody's in the W11. Everyone is on the 2022 cars in the 2022 game. The championship will stay alive up until I'd say until the end of this season. So make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you know when we do go live for any tier 1, 2, or 3 to watch out the battles uh, as close as we've seen today, perhaps maybe even closer depending upon the track as well as the conditions. So yeah, make sure to subscribe as we do begin the final lap. And really, what do you have to say about Dark Knight? I mean, he's just had an amazing race throughout. He has been dominant, especially in the wets. He he had quite a bit amount of pace in the tries to keep up with the guys ahead of him. And then just as the rains came in, the rain started pouring. One of the last people to pit, but actually worked out for him, as he overtook the lead. I think that tire advantage does help, as BK has retired on the final lap of this race. Not
That's just
ideal
sad.
for him, but yeah, Dark Knight has driven an amazing race so far. What do you have to say about it, Slayer?
It's been impeccable from Dark Knight. I mean, being so strong in qualifying and then in the race with mixed conditions, it has to be of high commendance. So, yeah, it's a very complete performance from Dark Knight, what I would like to think of it as. And but I would like to think that the Aston Martin boys have had a happier day at the office than the Red Bull boys. ABD
Certainly.
had a lot of bad luck today and a few mistakes, a few bad battles.
Let's go on
So
board Dark Knight really
let's
quick.
go on board Dark Knight, and it's
As
Dark
Dark
Knight.
Knight comes across the line here in just a second. He comes across the line now to win in Miami, and I think that is his first career win as well in league racing. So congratulations to Dark Knight, Inc. P2, Sai Tarun P3, Alex P4. Maybe one or few more laps, then Alex could have potentially challenged for that P3, but he will
Yeah.
have to settle for that P4. Faizan P5, Shrey takes that P5 away from him. ABD P6, Faizan P7 after the penalties. Existence almost 40 seconds behind. The battle's not over between Tsukuyomi and Jose.
We'll find out how it goes. This battle is really close. It's just 2 tenths, and Jose is
Correct
pulling it
between
out.
Jose and Tsukuyomi.
And Tsukuyomi has a lime green wing, I can see by the looks of it. And
Oof.
that will hurt him for these final few corners. Let's
Oof.
see if Tsukuyomi can pull it off.
He will not be able to. He just knows. Oh,
Oh
Jose's
no!
gone
He
deep.
can pull it off!
Tsukuyomi gets
He
past
can
him
pull it off!
at the final corner.
Tsukuyomi seals P9 for himself, and Jose
God.
heartbreak. Oh no!
My God. Up
Simply
until the very end.
the timing today has been impeccable, and that has been a crazy race all in all. Srikanth Das
Oh
wins
my
driver of the
God.
day, and that is how he will call it a day over at Miami.
My God, Shrikant Das didn't even finish the race, still the driver of the day. I'd give it to Dark Knight, to be fair. Amazing race from Dark Knight to get that win. Starting from P4, Inc. starting from P8, managing to go up into P2. So yeah, still pretty good from him.
I would give it to Ink or Dark Knight, either of the two. Dark Knight's had a really complete performance, so
Yep.
yeah, he's the driver of the day in my books. But EA decides to give it to Srikanth, so congrats Srikanth on your driver of the day.
Although that results in no points.
Yeah.
But yeah, still pretty good job from you.
I mean, we can't trust EA on anything, so
Exactly.
yeah,
Pretty
that
much.
is how it is.
But yeah, an amazing race from the beginning. The second the lights went out, we saw action throughout the race. The conditions changed, and we were still seeing action for that lead. Dark Knight closing in more and more and more on Ink. Sai Tarun as well, he got left behind in that pit stops thanks to him being held up. So I think there will be a word between both the Aston Martin boys for sure, because that did sabotage a possible P2 from Sai's side. So we'll see what happens. But still, an amazing feat from Sai Tarun, finishing up on the podium here. A mistake-free race from him, which just goes to show what he can actually do when he is given the opportunity. And considering all of our drivers are here, let's quickly move on to the podium interviews.
So I will start with the winner of today's race. I
I'd say
think.
start from P3.
Okay, let's start from P3 then. Simply you, I'll take P3 and let's start. So, Sai Tarun, been a long time since we have seen you here on the podium. How does it feel to have run such a complete race? P3 in qualifying and P3 in the race today. Talk about it.
It was a good race. I think a good qualifying. Missed out. I think P2 by half a ton.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if the race was dry, would have been challenging Dark Knight for the win. But yeah, GG's to Dark Knight for his first win, and GG's to Ink also.
Also, a very good day at the office for your team overall, a P2 and P3 finish. How do you think that will help you in the Constructors' Championship?
Oh, finally, I won't get any more scoldings from Ink. I'm gonna say. But yeah, I think it was a good race for us, Aston Martin. I think ABD finished P6, so could
Yeah.
be a good next race. Let's see.
Certainly.
Congratulations on that podium, man. Enjoy it.
Thank you, thank you.
I do actually have a question for Sai. When we were transitioning over onto the inters, when it started raining, we did see perhaps from what we could gather, it was a team order between you and Ink to swap positions, even though it did seem that you were faster throughout the first stint. So will what are your thoughts on that? Will you guys be having a word after the race perhaps on that, because you were looking at a solid P2 finish there? If it
This
was
this
for
this
you getting
theory,
held up.
you can go sell it to Netflix, okay? And this and all doesn't work here.
But I think Ink had a lot more pace.
Ink,
in,
please don't
Inters.
interrupt. Let him answer the question. Thank you.
Ink had a lot of pace in Inters, and my setup was clearly for the dries. So I think he had a much more Inters and wets. I mean Inters and slick setup. So I think he deserves the P2, and I think I should work on my Inters, pace. That's all I have to say.
I think that's a
Fair
good way
enough.
to take it. And yeah. So let's move on to P2. Simply you take this one. Simply.
Yep, sorry, apologies. Let's move on to P2, as you were saying. Ink in P2, you were looking quite quick, but then those enters, clearly Dark Knight beat you to it. So what happened? Perhaps were you running a bit of a dry setup there, or what happened? Maybe the tire pressures were wrong?
Quite the opposite, actually. We were running a wet setup, but I think these guys, Dark Knight had a much more superior, this wet setup. He was flying in the straights, and then I couldn't catch up this in the corners. So our setup was more focused on the dry run, as you saw, like me and Sai were leading 1-2 and swapping around those two positions in the dry phase. We regarding the swapping question, like I was much more quicker on the wet, so we thought we'll give it a try and try to defend off Dark Knight, which I did for a few laps, but then my ARS ran out and then he went past. So I thought of setting it again in the next corner, but he's too far away from that. So I thought let's not ruin the double
Yep.
podium me and Sai will be getting, and then we were focused more on the championship rather than the single race win, and I'm very happy for Dark Knight to get his first win. I was asking Sai Tarun whether it's Dark Knight's first win or something. Then like I'm happy for him.
Certainly, we're all happy for Dark Knight. And once again, congratulations for you and Sai Tarun for that double podium. It will help you guys quite a bit in the constructors, considering that the Red Bull guys didn't collectively have quite a good day. Anyways, Leia, take us on with
Yes.
Dark Knight.
So Dark Knight finally on the top step of the podium. How does it feel to be here? P1 for you today at Miami.
Yeah, it's quite unexpected. I was not expecting a win. I was like all the other races, I've been finishing in the top five consistently. So I was like, okay, I'll get another top five. And the quali wasn't like I was actually surprised with the quali. I didn't have much pace in all the practice sessions and qualified P4. I think it was a good result. And then after that, I was just trying to stay out of trouble. Obviously, uh, yeah, there were like I think FIFA Kanak and Seja was it? Yeah, they both had incidents. And then it was I knew like Ink, myself and Sai, we are all similar pace, so I just had to stay with them. But in between, I did get into trouble with Faizan. He was holding us up a little bit. So yeah, on the dry stint, obviously they were much quicker. It was equally paced, so I was not really making any gains. But I think that double stack I think costed them. I think if they one of them had stuck out for another lap, I think. It would have been a much more closer race for the win. So in a way, it kind of helped us. But yeah, and for the championship, obviously, ABD lost his internet connection, and yeah, he went back further down the grid, but he still finished P6, so that's decent. But yeah, to fight for the championship, we do need both cars in the top four, top five.
Yeah. And your superior pace on the wet tires. I mean, we were seeing you catching up to Ink at a rate of knots. One corner we see it's 1.5 seconds, and 5 corners later we see it's just 6, 7 tenths. And that was obviously a very great wet driving performance from you. So, was it all thanks to your setup, or was it something else to it as well?
Uh, Setup. I mean, I was running the dry setup, but then I did increase the wing by a little bit. I didn't run a wet setup like these guys. I was not sure that if it go into the wet session, I was like, it'll go and be staying in inters. So then I was like, okay, I'll just somewhere in between. And yeah, it was that. That's the thing I did. I didn't increase the wings by a big margin. It was somewhere in the middle. And yeah, and even I was quite surprised because I thought Ink would be catching. I think towards the end he was catching by a big margin because obviously the weather was getting even more worse. And then his wet setup actually came into play. And I think he caught up by a second and a half in the last 2 laps. So I think if it went for a couple more laps, I think he would have taken the win. But yeah, in a way, we lucked out there, and yeah, glad to get the result.
Yeah, and lucked out it is, but you had obviously done enough to secure that win. So enjoy it with your teammates, and yeah, great win for you. First win in IRC, I presume.
Yes, yes, it's my
So
first win.
that is obviously a very good feeling and one that you will never forget. So enjoy your win today, man.
Yeah,
Simply, any
thanks.
questions?
Nope, none. That's it though for tonight. Of course, congratulations to all of the podium setters. Although fear not, the racing action is not over. We do have Tier 1, the fastest boys in India, coming up tonight at 8 p.m. IST. So do make sure to tune in for that. Of course, subscribe and turn on the notifications. If you do want to take part in any of these races, or if you're just a general motorsports enthusiast, make sure to join our Discord server. The link is, of course, on your screen as well as in the description. Make sure to follow us on all of our socials. They are on your screen again, as well as in the description, to stay updated on any sort of events that will be coming up. However, for now, that's it from the Tier 2 boys. An amazing race. Of course, Tier 1 coming up tonight. That will, of course, be even more amazing to watch. Very, very tight pack there, especially in the standings. So do make sure to tune in again at 8 p.m. IST tonight. Until then, though, thank you so much for watching, and stay hydrated. Until then, bye bye.
Bye bye, guys.